Probably for me, the most exciting thing, novel thing that we learned about these past 3 days in class was the River and Tides movie. I don't know, I guess this was probably because it was a documentary that I've never seen anything like before. When we first watched it, I was like really confused as to why we were watching it and what it had to do with positive psychology. But after it finished, like, I guess there were some unique things that came out of the documentary. The first was like the idea of like when he built that egg-shaped thing he put in the tide took it. It accepted the gift that the artist was giving to the tide, and I don't know. That was like kind of a cool idea, I guess, in and of itself. But what I thought was really interesting about it was when the tide went back and the egg-shaped object was still there. It just kind of showed that even though like something as powerful as nature and the sea like took a hold of something, it still left it there, so that when the tide was there and was gone, like his masterpiece still was there for everybody to see. The second thing I'd want to talk about is one of the quotes that Andy Goldsworthy said, and I think this was when he was making one of his things on the trees. He said something like, I don't think the earth needs us, I don't think the earth needs humans, but we sure need the earth. And I think that's one of his main reasons for doing what he does, is that like we take for granted everything that the earth gives us, and we don't appreciate the true beauty of it and the true like wonder of nature. And I think it's really cool that like someone like Goldsworthy goes out and explores things like this, and that stuff helps him introduce it to different groups of people, whether that be college students like us, professors, people interested in art, or people interested in nature. It's really cool that he understands this and he can go out into nature, which a lot of people can't do because a lot of people don't understand how important it is to us living. So I also thought it was really interesting that, like he said, we don't need nature. We need nature, but nature doesn't need us. It's kind of interesting that he says this and then uses nature as his source of income. I don't know. Not that that necessarily contradicts itself. It was just kind of like an interesting concept for me. Finally, like the last thing I found interesting or novel or unique, whatever you want to call it, about the documentary was the fact that in order to do something you love, you have to be willing to accept failure. And this was really interesting to me because I saw time and time again he would be working hours on something and it would just fall out of nowhere. Like there's nothing he could do. He could try to hold on, but obviously that wasn't going to last very long, so he just had to accept the fact that he didn't succeed that time, he failed that time, and he was just going to have to try again. And whether he would try again would be in 5 minutes or the next day, he ultimately would try again, and then he in the end did succeed, as we all saw. I think that kind of applied to me because before taking this course I saw myself as somebody who starts a project and almost always finishes it, and while I still believe that to be true, it kind of makes me see it in perspective. Like the projects that I start are nowhere near as big as some of the projects that he may start, and I don't know, it just kind of makes it seem easy. Like for me, I always am able to like finish my homework on time or finish a group presentation on time with no difficulty because I'm like taught that as a student, and it's kind of just, I don't know, I wonder about how that's going to be for me in the workplace, because it's not just homework, it's not just class presentations, it's a job, and other people are depending on you to do your job successfully so that the product that you're trying to sell or the people you're trying to help get the results that they want. And I don't know, I know personally I'm kind of like living in a bubble right now. I go to school, I don't really do anything else. I have like the support of my parents behind me. Like, I don't know, I can start and finish something relatively easy, and I think it will be interesting to see whether or not I can do that in the future, and whether or not I'll have the required patience and resilience that Goldsworthy had in his River and Tides documentary to do so well, and yeah, we'll see. Thanks.